You may wish to pause the video and have a go at this exercise yourself, which is asking what are the first three common multiples of the numbers 2 and 3, and which one is the lowest common multiple. If we consider multiples of 2, we're really concerned with the times table for 2 or counting up in 2s. So you can see we go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And you can see we jump up in 2. We go from 2 to 4, which is a jump of 2, 4 to 6, which is a jump of 2. And here you can see we finish off with a jump from 16 to 18, which is a jump of 2. If we consider multiples of 3, then it's a 3 times tables essentially. So you start off with 3, you jump up to 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. And you can see from 3 to 6, it's a jump of 3. From 6 to 9, it's a jump of 3. And you can observe that that happens. I'll look at the last one. 24 to 27 is a jump of 3. So this list shows us multiples of 2. And this list here shows us multiples of 3. Now, of course, I could have extended the list. I just happen to know that I've gone far enough to answer this exercise. I'll remove these headings so I can concentrate on the lists. And the first thing I'm going to do is to look at this number 2 and ask the question, is this 2 in this list here? And the answer, it isn't. So I will put a cross against the 2. And now I'll go on and ask, is this 4 in this list? Now, if you scan the list, you see it isn't, so I'll cross out the 4. I'll then come to the 6, and I'll ask the question, is 6 in this list? And we can see that it is. So I'll highlight both 6's, join a line between them, and mark those as common. Because there is a multiple 6 in the list of multiples of 2, and there's also a multiple of 6 in the list of multiples of 3. I'll now move on to look at the 8 and ask the question whether this is in this list. And you can see it isn't, so I'll put a cross against the 8. I'll move on to the 10 and see if that's in the list. And it clearly isn't, so I'll put a cross across that. I'll then come to the 12 and ask whether the 12 is in the list. And you can see that it is. So I'll do the same thing. I'll put a line between them to join them, and I'll mark it as common. You can then do the same with 14, 16, and 18. 14 isn't in the list, the other one. So I'll mark it off. 16 is not in the multiples of 3. So I'll put a cross against that. And now I'm left with 18. And let's see if that's in both lists. And you can see it is. So I've marked it off. And I'm going to say that that is common. So we can see 6 is in both lists. So 6 is common to the multiples of 2 and to the multiples of 3. We can say the same about the 12, and we can say the same about the 18. So the multiples that are common to both lists are 6, 12, and 18. So the first 3 common multiples of 2 and 3 are 6, 12, and 18. I'm going to check indeed whether the 6, 12, and 18 are multiples of 2, and then I'll check whether they're multiples of 3. And the way in which you do that is as shown here. You take the 6 and you divide it by 2, and you can see the result is 3, which is a whole number. In other words, 2 goes exactly into 6 with no remainder. So we know 6 is a multiple of 2. We then divide 12 by 2, and that gives a whole number, i.e. no remainder. So I know 12 is a multiple of 2. I then divide the 18 by 2 and see that gives me 9. No remainder because it goes exactly. So I can see that 6, 12, and 18 are multiples of 2. I will just confirm that they're also multiples of 3. So you take the 6, you divide by 3, which gives you 2. Goes exactly, no remainder. So 6 is definitely a multiple of 3. Let's look at the 12. I'll divide that by 3 and it goes exactly 4 times. And then finally I'll look at the 18 and I'll divide that by 3 and that gives 6. It goes exactly because there are no remainders. Now the exercise also asks what's the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3. Well, here I'm writing out the first three common multiples of 2 and 3 are 6, 12 and 18, which we've shown and proved there. All multiples of 2 and multiples of 3. But which is the lowest common multiple? Well, that's straightforward. It's the smallest number. It's the 6. So we can say that 6 is the lowest common multiple. And that is often abbreviated as LCM, which stands for lowest common multiple.